Start recording now. Oops, what am I doing? I need to share a screen. I need to change my camera. And I need to pin myself. And I need to minimize all your faces. Okay, so 300, number 5 says sketch the graph of each system of a linear and quadratic inequalities. Okay, so 5a, I'm given y is less than x and y is greater than or equal to x squared minus 5x minus 6. All right. The easiest way to graph this for me, my practice, we know that -6 is where it's going to go through the y-intercept. It's positive, so it's going to be this shape. And we can find our intercepts by factoring this. And then we'll have points to kind of to plot. It'll make it easier. So I will factor this. It says x minus, this is not a factorable one. See, there's a good example. It's not a factorable one. Let me just double check. Because they would have -3 and -2 would add up to -5, but it wouldn't make that. Okay, so instead we're just going to use some.
Wouldn't it be -6 and 1?
Oh, smarty pants. Yeah, good job. X minus 6, x plus 1. Yes, so our zeros are going to be at x equals 6 and x equals -1. Yes, good job. What I was going to do, for what it's worth, so if you do what I did and you go, oh, it's not factorable. Okay, I'll do it a different way. I was just going to go to a table of values and it would have worked out. So that's the nice thing. Like it was a couple of days ago when Ada asked, well, can we do completing the square instead of the what's it called? Quadratic formula? Yes, because if you're following the rules of math, it'll still work out. Oh, you know what song I hate and is in my head right now? Watermelon Sugar. I haven't been listening to music much today, which is a shame. I need to put something different in my head. Okay, this is y, this is x. Look at me labeling everything. Look at you not even being able to see it because I haven't put it on the screen. Okay, so the first one, y is less than x, so it's not equal to. But we can kind of treat it like y equals x as far as when we graph it, except it's not equal to, so it's going to be a dotted line. So I just got to make sure I have it lined up right. So this is y is less than x, so the downside is the side that we will be shading. And then with our other one, we know that the y-intercept is -6 and the x-intercepts are 6 and -1. So it's going to go through here and it's going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the y-intercept is -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which means the middle, like the vertex is going to be lower down here somewhere. We don't need it to do this properly. So we just try and, oh, that's terrible. That's why we use pencil. And then it's y is greater than or equal to. So we could use the solid line because it's greater than or equal to. And so the area that works for both solutions is right in here. And then on the test, it says, use a test point. So we can't use 0, 0 as much as I'd want to. So we could use 1 and 0 as a test when x is 1 and y is 0. If x is 1, 1 is greater than 0. That works. X is 1. 1 minus 5 is -4. -4 minus 6 is -10. -10 is smaller than 0. So we know that we're in the right area here. That was 5A. I think that was Kate. Did you have any questions about that, Kate? Is that okay? I know Kate sometimes has some interesting. Oh, I'm doing the wrong question. That's not what she wanted. Or did I see 5 from somewhere? Oh, that was Sadie. Sadie asked for 5. Sadie, are you good with this?
Yeah, I meant 5 on page 296, but
Okay.
that's good to know too. So.
Okay. So nobody needed this. All right. Well, I'm going to jump to number 6 on page 300. Oh, sorry to waste everybody's time. Number 6 says solve the following quadratic inequalities both graphically on a number line and algebraically. Okay, so 6a says x squared minus 5x, x squared minus 5x is less than or equal to 6. I'm going to bring that 6 over so I can factor it. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. X squared minus 5x minus 6 less than or equal to 0. We don't flip the inequality unless we multiply or divide by a negative. So now we factor this. Is this the same? Oh, interesting. Okay, anyways, so this is x minus 6, x plus 1. So our zeros or our points of interest are x equals 6 and negative 1. We do our number line. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I always like to go one more than on the outside of them. So this is less than or equal to, so these are shaded in circles at 6. And negative 1, shaded in circles. And I'm going to try 0 first, see how 0 works with the original equation. 0 minus 0 is less than 6. That works. And if 0 works, that means that I shaded in between. If 0 didn't work, if it was like 0 is greater than 6, then I would shade on the outside. But in this one, there's my solution space. 6a, was that Kate? Was that one Kate? Kate might be having some difficulties. Kate, you wanna, if you need anything, just like chat it and send it through the text there. Okay, number 7. Let's have a look. Here's a word problem. Number 7. Everybody loves word problems. Okay, so it says a rectangular tablecloth is 30 inches long and 20 inches wide. Okay, so it's 30 by 20. This is not drawn to scale. Oh, Kate says her audio is cutting out, but she's following. Okay, cool. So this is number 7 on page 300. And it is enlarged with a border that is uniform in width on all sides. So it's going to be increased by the same amount. These aren't plus signs, these are extensions, and that tick mark is just showing that they're all the same measure. And so we can say that this is x. With a border that's how wide should the border be in order to at least double the area? Okay, so the area currently 30 times 20 is 600. If we're going to add x, so it's going to be 30 plus x times 20 plus x. We want this to be greater than or equal to, or just greater than? At least double. So greater than or equal to 600. Nope, 1200, because that would be double. Any problems so far? I just want to pause there, because this, I think this is always the hardest part of any of the word problems, is just setting it up. Anybody have any questions, comments, problems? Okay, so I'm gonna simplify. 30 times 20 is 600. 30 times x is 30x. X times 20 is 20x. X times x is x squared. Greater than or equal to 1200. I'm going to want to move that 1200 over to left. So I'm going to subtract 1200 from both sides, and I'm going to rearrange this. X squared plus 50x minus 600 is greater than or equal to 0. So now we factor. Now I didn't check if this is a factorable one, and I'm just going to save some time by just having a peek at the answer to see if I'm getting decimals or not. 6, 7. Okay, looks like it'll work. All right, so I need to find the factors that are going to work for this, and I might take some kind of trial and error. I know it's going to be X and X, and I know the signs are going to be different inside, but what are they going to be? To the factors of 600 that have a different of 50. I just lost somebody. 600 breaks down to, oh, maybe they're back. One of the ways to do this, and I don't know if I've shown you guys this, you could just kind of do a factor tree out and then find the combinations that work. So for example, if I factor this all out, 2 times 300, 2 times 150, sometimes I might see it right away and I'll kind of guess. I'm not seeing it here. 2 times 150, 2 times 75, 3 times 25, 5 times 5. So each of these, 2, 2, 2, 3, 5, 5, multiply these together equals 600. What combination will have a difference of 50? So for example, let's say I do 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 6. I'll just take 6, and then 75, 6 and 75 don't have a difference of 50. So I got to mess around with it a bit more. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 and 25 don't have a difference of 50. Is this going to work? Hang on. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So it's 24. 24 times 25 is equal 600. Just want to make sure I haven't made a mistake here. Yes, okay. So what if we do 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 5 is 40, and 15. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 and 30. Am I doing something wrong here? Because if I use a pencil, 3 times 5 is 15. Oh, someone's saying 60 and 10. Okay, we'll get there one sec. 15, and then 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, 8 times 5 is 40. Oh, I saw it wrong. So it was 10 and, what did they say? 60 and 10. So 2, 10, okay, was 65 times 5 is 25. 2 is 50. Where's the 60? 3 times 2 is 6. Like this. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 3 is 12. Times 5 is 60 and 10. There we go. Good job. So it's 60 and 10. So you got to kind of mess around with the combinations there. And it's going to be positive 60 and negative 10. Are we okay there? Have we lost anybody? The nice thing for you guys is knowing that I'm giving you something that's factorable. So if you're kind of getting stuck, keep working at it. It's factorable. So in this case, our zeros are negative 60 and positive 10. We're increasing this thing. So negative 60 isn't going to work. 10 would be our answer. And we can check it by plugging it in if we want. So if we put in 10, so it's 100 plus 500 is 600, 600 minus 600, that does equal 0. So as long as it's 10 or greater, that will work. How wide should the border be? But now that I'm saying that, didn't the answer say 5? Test says at least 5.
I think that's because it increases by 10 altogether, but 5 on each side.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Which is weird. So if you would have said 10, like increase the width and the length by 10, just to be clear, I would be okay with that. That's a good point, Nathan. That'd be weird. Why would you say it that way? But yeah, that makes sense.
So
Go ahead.
the X value, like the 10 value that you got, would be the X's on both. Like it would be the X's, the width, the two, like width times 2.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why you would divide it by 2.
You could, like if you said to me the width is lengthened, like the carpet is lengthened by 10 and the width is increased by 10, that makes sense. Or if you said 5 on either side, that's fine too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, let me read how wide should the border be? Yeah. Other questions before we move on to, I think it was number 5.
Yeah, so at the end, it was 10 instead of 5 or 5 instead of 10 or whatever.
Yep.
When I was doing the assignment, like 9.5, were
Yep.
some other questions like that too? Because like for one of them I got 40, but then the textbook said 20. And I don't know, like would
That
that
one
have been the
was
problem?
It's possible. I'll tell you honestly that like this is such a busy time for me right now. Usually I have time at the end of June to do awards and grad and stuff. And I've been like, I was here and I was telling Ada earlier, I was marking stuff Friday night. Well, you guys probably, oh no, the physics people probably saw I was marking stuff Friday night. Saturday, I was here for over 6 hours. Anyways, all this whining and complaining by me is me saying, I haven't worked through the assignment. If there's questions you want me to do and get back to you, I will. I'm happy to do them now as well. But unfortunately, I just haven't done it yet. Oh, and Sadie, or I don't know if you see, Ada's sending a message to you here.
Oh yeah, thank you, Ada.
So I'm going to jump to the assignment because that's where a lot of questions are. And it was number 5. That's what you wanted, Sadie? It was number 5 from the assignment?
Yeah, that would be good.
Great. Yeah, so let's do that. A rectangular piece of land has at most an area of 1350. So the area is less than or equal to 1350. That's what we're being told. The piece of land is to be subdivided and enclosed with 180 meters of fencing as shown. What are the dimensions of the piece of land? So 180. And so what I'm assuming,
Shouldn't you switch the sign around because it's like it's the most it is
exactly,
that much?
and that's the way it is. So it won't be any bigger than 1350. It can be less than. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so now with this diagram, I'm assuming that it's going to want this fence piece here. So basically what we need to do is 180 meters of fencing. Well, this one's fun, hey? I have to play with it a little bit. So if this is like width and this is length, I'm assuming the 180 meters of fencing is the perimeter, and then it's plus this bad boy. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
Their diagram is way too confusing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not ideal. So what you need to do is figure out the perimeter with that 180. With this is a pain. So basically, what it's going to be is 3W plus 2L equals 180. Does that make sense? Because here's length, this is length, so it's 2 of those, and instead of 2 widths, it's 3 widths. But we also know that W times L is less than or equal to 1350. So what we need to do is substitute this here. We can either divide everything by 2 or everything by 3. Basically, we want to isolate the L or the W, and then we can plug it into here and then solve.
But then in the end, if it's asking for dimensions of just one of them, the width would be right, but then the length you would have to like divide by 4, right?
What? Here, let me tell you what I'm going to do and then see if it answers your question. Once we get one of these, yeah, no, I can't even remember what your question was. Once we solve for the width or length, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Once we solve for one, then we can solve for the other one. And then we can figure it out. Do you know what I mean? Like once, so I'm gonna change this. Let's say I'm gonna divide everything by 2. So it's gonna be 3 over 2W plus L equals 90. I'm going to put this on the other side. So L equals 90 minus 3 over 2 W. So in for L, right here, I'm going to put this in for L, and then I'm going to have to do some solving. Am I getting to your question at all, Ada? Should I just keep going and then see if it makes sense?
Yeah,
Will
it's
the test,
oh, sorry.
no, you can go ahead.
My
Sure.
question was just like relevant to the end.
Okay.
So it's okay.
So keep going. And what were we going to say, Sadie?
Like for the test, will it be like a word problem like this, or will it be a little bit easier?
It'll be easier, 100%.
Okay.
With all, I feel like I'm getting a bit soft with all the, I'd like to have a really kind of high bar to make things kind of hard and stuff. But with all the stress everybody's under and how this year is ending, I'm not looking to make any big challenges here. It's definitely going to be easier. So we put this L, substitute this in for the L here. So it's going to be W times 90 minus 3 over 2 W, less than or equal to 1350. So 90W minus 3 over 2 W squared. I'm going to bring this over, minus 1350, less than or equal to 0. I'm going to multiply everything by 2 so I can get rid of this fraction. So it's going to be 180W minus 6 over 2W squared minus 2700. Less than or equal to 0. This becomes a 3. So now I'm going to divide everything by 3 because I want the W squared by itself. Divide everything by 3.
You multiplied everything by 2 so that the fraction would be a whole number?
Yeah. I wanted to get rid of that fraction. What I would, if I was doing this by myself, I would multiply everything by 2 over 3. I'm just showing you kind of all the steps so as not to lose anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have multiplied everything by 2 over 3 just to get rid of this. And that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm just doing it in 2 steps. So now I'm dividing by 3. This is 3 divided by 3 is 1, so it's negative W squared. And then this divided by 3 is 900. I reorganize negative W squared plus 60W minus 900 less than or equal to 0. And now I don't like this. So I'm going to multiply everything by -1. Basically, I'm just changing the sign of everything, which is much easier to do when it's an equality, but this is an inequality, so this thing flips. And now I factor. W, and these are going to both be negative. Looks like 30 and 30. Well, that's kind of handy. So W equals 30, which makes it kind of handy. And this is it's the setup of these questions is always the kind of toughest part. So if the dimensions are 30, then you can figure out what the length would have to be. And then once you've got that, you can figure out your, well, you can actually just put in, I was saying, put it in here, you can figure it out with here to figure out what the dimensions of the length are and stuff like that.
Is that the width of just one line, or is that the width of all 3?
One line, that's 1 W.
Okay, so like times 3 would, okay, yeah, I get it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the width is 30 and the length is 45.
Okay.
Other question. Oh, so Ada, you had something towards the end of it, you said.
Yeah, no, it works out unless you are trying to find the Y first. It's just, yeah, it's fine. I just did it a bit differently, but it's the same answer.
Yep, and that's okay. Like Nathan pointed out, it's a confusing diagram and stuff. And as I kind of answered Sadie, it'll be easier than this on the test. If you look at the practice test, that's a good indicator. Other questions? Anybody?
Can you do on that same page question 3?
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else on this before I move on? All right.
I think for number 3, you had to use the quadratic formula. So you just said not to do that one.
Oh, if it was it not assigned?
It was assigned.
Oh, this is a terrible teacher. But I said, didn't I? Oh, this is from. Oh no, this is from the assignment. Did it? Yeah, I gave number 3.
Yeah.
5. It's a, it's a quadratic. So if it's quadratic or completing the square, then I feel like it's probably best not to, Evan. If you want me to, I will. But you won't get anything like that on the test.
Okay, well then it's fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
There also might be another way of doing it that I didn't see because I just plugged it into the quadratic formula because it was not very nice numbers.
Yep.
But you could probably also factor it. I don't know.
Well, and also it's probably worth mentioning, if you guys remember what I said before, is if you wanted to use the quadratic formula for every single question, even if it factors nicely, you want to use the quadratic formula, you're more than welcome to, because that's a totally viable option, and it'll give you nice, neat answers. So it's not like it's kind of a bad thing or it'll give you different answers. As long as you kind of follow the rules of math, there's lots of different ways you can approach it and it'll still work. Anybody else? Other questions? I'll post when I get here tomorrow. The first thing I'll do, I've left a note on for myself to remind me because I've got some other stuff I got to do yet today. But the first thing I'll do is I'll do the test that I'll do the answer key for the test that I gave out today. So just so you know, that'll be done tomorrow first thing. The office hours are always open. Nobody ever comes, but you're more than welcome to if you have more questions for math test tomorrow at 11. There's that option, the open office hours. But if there's nothing else, my friends, you can go. I would like to ask though. I see you, Kate. Kate, I'll email you. I would like to ask the physics people to hang back for just a couple seconds because I have an idea for what to do with our final classes there as well. So if the physics people could hang back, everybody else, you're free to go. See you later. All right. So you guys, what I was thinking of doing, so I said with the what's it called, PreCal, that we'll do these kind of problems of the week with you guys. There's certain assignments that we haven't done because of less class time, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm thinking that we kind of finish on that note. These assignments are the vast majority of the information is kind of in the textbook for you. There's a little bit that it will ask you to do kind of like a little bit of research, but they aren't big assignments. Like you'll probably finish in 25 minutes or something. So I'm thinking maybe that's what I'll do with you guys. Now you have 2 more classes than PreCal does. So it would be 5 of those, but it would all be kind of from the units that we've done anyway. Any problems or issues with that? And then also you have the time to do the catch-up work that anybody needs to. Sorry, somebody's gonna say something?
We have no more tests that are mandatory.
No, you don't. There with physics, well, say when you say mandatory, it's such a weird, the world is so weird right now. I won't be able to get through a unit in the 5 days that we have left together. This is also usually there's time built in for, fixing up any old things or study, whatever, which we don't have. But the stuff that we've skipped is covered well next year. And almost all units next year, they start with kind of review. Like, remember projectile motion? Well, now we're going to add this. But the first lesson is always kind of a little bit, first lesson or 2 is a little bit more review. I often start at the beginning of grade 12 saying, I know it feels like you've done all this already, but it's warming you up to kind of move on. So the stuff will be covered. Physics it's different. The curriculum is different than in PreCal. So we're okay to kind of miss some stuff. PreCal, it's trickier. It's kind of more important to make sure we cross some T's and dot some I's. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Anybody else? Questions, problems with that idea?
I think that would be good to go back a little bit and
Yep.
review some of the old units.
Cool, cool, cool. Anybody else? And they're also much more kind of life applicability type of things. So for those of you, especially, it'll be good, I think, for those of you that enjoy physics. For those of you that don't, you might be like, oh, when is this year going to be over? Which is, you know, how everybody else kind of feels anyway, teachers included. But that's all I got, my friends. If there's no big issues with that, then you are free to go. I know Ada, you said you wanted to hang around to ask me something about your test. The rest of you are good to go. If you have questions, feel free to email and pop into the office hours if you like. See you later. I guess we got class tomorrow, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, my one quick question was, is there a due date for, like, I guess maybe just at the 3 weeks, the due date for like test retakes?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. I should write that on Classroom. Let me just make a note for myself. Success, do you have questions or did you just fall asleep? Did you just mute me and you go on, you're playing video games somewhere?
I'll text him.
I can just kick him out too. I am curious of what he's doing. Oh, I'm still recording. I'm going to end the recording here.